You said he was getting pictures. What? No!
Yeah.
You're doing really good. Come on. Come on. I saw that in the middle there.
You were right in my eyes there.
Come on. That's how you move.
Like, come on.
There, I saw that. Okay.
My leg is You're doing great. Yeah, we got 2 minutes. So make it like one. Actually, we have 1 minute.
Okay, we're getting a little bit picky. So once you freeze, you do not move. So you stay free.
Okay, after this one, we're gonna have to sit down. After this one, we're gonna have to sit down.
Okay, so everyone's out. Right now, so grab a drink and a snack if you want, and then go sit down. Sturdy.
In every sunrise, the colors of the morning are set around. The world awakens with the light of the day. I look up to the sky and say, see your power in the moonlit night. Your planets are in motion and galaxies around. Praise in the light of the stars. It's all proclaimed who you are. Now you are sitting on your heavenly throne. So we will be coming We are at eternity strong, where death is just a memory. It's as the wedding bells ring, the bride will come together and sing. You're beautiful. Your face, you're beautiful. You're beautiful. You're beautiful. Your face, you're beautiful. You're beautiful. You're beautiful. Mountains that I face, stronger than the powers that I Your love never fails, it never gives up, it never runs out on me. Your love never fails, it never gives up, it never runs out on me. Your love never fails, it never gives up, it never runs out on me. You know the well to satisfies my soul, and I never ever have to be afraid. One thing remains, one thing remains. It never fails, it never gives up. Love never fails, it never gives up, it never runs out on me. Love never fails. There's nothing that can separate my heart from your great love. Fails and never gives up, it never runs out on me. Your love never fails and never gives up, it never runs out on me. Your love never fails and never gives up, it never runs out on me. To soften my heart and break me apart, I need you. To open my eyes, to see that you're shaping my life. All I am, I surrender. Give me faith to trust what you say, that you're good and your love is great. I'm broken inside, I give you my life. I need you to soften my heart and break me apart. I need you to pierce through the dark and cleanse every part of me. All I am, I surrender. Give me faith to trust what you say, that you're good and your love is great. I'm broken inside, I give you my life. I may be weak, but your spirit's strong in me. My flesh may fail, but my God, you never will. I may be weak, your spirit's strong in me. My flesh may fail, but my God, you never will. Give me faith to trust what you say, that you're good and you're I'm broken inside, I give you my life. Give me faith to trust what you say, that you're good and your love is great. I'm broken inside. I give you my life.
Dear Lord, I thank you for this wonderful day. Thank you for the message that it would go well, and that everybody would just hear it and try to live out forgiveness as possible. Thank you. Amen.
There I am. Hey guys. Oh, we can turn that down a little bit and turn it back. All right. So, real quick, the book of Genesis. There's some craziness that happens. So there's this guy Joseph. How many of you guys have heard of Joseph? Okay, different question. Who doesn't know the story of Joseph? Excellent. Well done. Thank you for being honest. Amen. So, Joseph was a dude. He's a cool guy. Lived a long time ago. His life was crazy. And it's partially because God had amazing plans for him, and it's partially because his family was black. And so, see, Joseph was a guy, he was his dad's favorite. Because his dad had this crazy situation as well, but Joseph came from a weird family. How many of you guys have some sort of like blended or multiple, mom, dad, stepdad, other dad, adoption, something different than just like birth mom and birth dad, been married since before I was born, still married, happy, loving family. See, me too. And so Joseph had it a little crazier than a lot of us. See, his dad had 4 wives at the same time. Yeah, that's a good recipe for craziness. His dad, not counting daughters, we have no count on how many daughters were born. There were probably at least 1, but there were 12 boys born to those 4 wives. But the one wife that Jacob really, really, really wanted, Rachel.
It's not you.
Rachel. My goodness. She's like, oh my gosh, this is Rachel. That's funny. The one wife that he really wanted wasn't giving him any sons. So first, he slept with her older sister, who he was given a wife, and so she had a few boys. And then Rachel was like, I still don't have any, so here, have my maidservant as a wife and make some more boys. And so he had some boys that way, and they were like technically legally hers, but not really. It's not the same. And so he didn't love them the way he would have loved the real son, from Rachel. And so then Leah, the older sister, was like, well, take my maidservant and have some boys with her. And so, yeah, I know. It doesn't make children. So have some boys with her. And they would do these weird things. And so anyway, so he's got all these sons, but none of them come from Rachel. And then finally, Jacob's able to have a son through Rachel, Joseph. And so Joseph is his boy. He's got 10 sons already, but Joseph's my son. You know what I mean? Like, that's crazy. How awesome would you feel if you were like at this point, like your oldest brother, your baby brother, like, okay, I've got a baby brother. I'm in my 30s. I've got a baby brother who is less than a year old. Yeah, I've got a baby half brother who's less than a year old. And so if I was still living at home working for my dad's business, and I had 9 little brothers other than that guy, and then number 11 comes along, and that's my dad's absolute favorite child ever, I'm just saying I'd be less than thrilled over the whole situation. Can you see where I'm coming from? So these guys, but they weren't just kind of bitter about it. They were like super angry, and they hated Joseph. And so as Joseph's growing up, they just hate, because he's dad's favorite. and they just got like, you know, shepherd's clothes that are all worn out and they work in. And dad's like, hey, Rachel, make my son an awesome cloak. And so she makes him the coat in many colors you've heard of. So she makes this super extravagant, expensive cloth, big robe for him to wear that's just super rad looking. And he's like, this is my boy. That's my #1 son. And they're like, dude, he's number 11. Count. And so they hate him. So Joseph's about 7. He starts having these crazy dreams. And Joseph's dreams, man, they do worse for him than any of the previous stuff. So now we're in Genesis 37. Joseph starts having crazy dreams, and the dreams are like this. He's like, so I saw 10 grains a week, or 10 like bundles a week, all bowing to me. And his brothers count out everything. They're like, wait a second, you saw us bowing to you, you're the little one. Well, you say we're gonna bow to you? He's like, well, I mean, you know, kind of. I'm just saying, that's the dream I had. So then he comes back and he's like, hey, sorry guys, hate to tell you this, but I had another dream. This time I saw 10 stars and the sun and the moon bow to me. They're like, what? We're going to bow to you and mom and dad? His dad's like, seriously, what's wrong with you, kid? I'm not bowing to you. You're my boy, but I'm not bowing to you. And so they hated Joseph. They didn't just hate him. They could not get over this. They couldn't let go of the offense. We've been talking about let it go, right? That's the name of the series. It says it there in the precursor word. Let it go. Not frozen. But because that was really unhealthy letting it go. That was abandonment and denial and isolation. That's stupid and it will break you. Don't do that. This is letting go of offenses. Letting go to take revenge. They perceived that Joseph had injured them, because he said, I'm going to rule over you. But he wasn't trying to say, like, hey, bow to me. I'm going to rule you. He was just like, I had this crazy dream. You were going to bow to me. And they're like, I'm going to kill you. That was their response. Do you imagine being so mad at your little brother that you're like, I will end your life? And not just ending it, but then the 10 of them get together and they're like, dudes, all right, look, here's the plan. When he comes out, we kill him. Like, we full on kill him. And they're like, and look at it, there's 4, and 4, that's 8, 9, 10, 11. So you don't count because you're little Benjamin, who's like Joseph's little brother. But so these guys are all like, I'm going to kill him. That's how many brothers he had, like that whole crew plotting against him. So he walks out in the middle of nowhere. What? Ethan gets to, no, dude, he gets to be Benjamin. He's the good one.
Yay!
Little guy rocks. Yes, thank you. So Joseph, on command of his dad, goes out to see his brothers to bring a message from dad. All the brothers are out tending sheep. And they go, whoa, hey, guys, here comes Mr. Dreamer Man. Let's kill him. And they go to kill him, and Reuben, the one brother, is like, maybe executing our brother isn't the best idea ever. He says, wait, okay, look, there's a big cistern, like a big hole in the ground where people would put water and stuff. So kind of like a well, but it's empty. And he goes, hey, there's a big cistern right here. Why don't we just toss him in, and we'll figure out what to do with him later. You know, we'll kill him later. And they're like, yeah, good enough. So they grab him, they chuck him in the hole. And Reuben's plan is, all my brothers go to sleep, I get Joseph out, I take him back to dad, and go, Dad, they're trying to kill him, don't send him out here by himself anymore. But while Reuben goes away, probably to fetch dad or something, but he goes away, and the brothers are hanging out, and they're watching the cistern, and along comes some traders, some slave traders. And they're like, hey, wait, I got a good idea. Judah, he's a great guy. We'll hear more about him in a second. This is all Genesis 37. Judah goes, I got a great idea. Let's sell him. Because what happens if we kill him? Nothing. We try to cover it up, and maybe we get caught. But if we sell him to slave traders, he's going to end up like down in Egypt or something. We'll never see him again. We'll never hear from him again. And we'll get paid. And we're rid of the idiot. This is great. So they sell him to slave traders, and he's gone. Then they kill a goat because they're like, well, we got to come up with something. So they steal his fancy robe. They kill a goat. They tear up the robe. They cover it in goat blood. They take it back to dad, and they go, Hey, Pops, look, your son got ripped apart by a wild animal. Sorry about that.
Oh.
Like, dude, can you imagine that? Like, they broke their father's heart. This is the number one son. If I lost either of my daughters, not just the favorite one, but either one, I love them both, generally. Depends on the day. It goes back and forth, so do you. But so, if I lost either of them, like, dude, I don't even know how I would, like that's such a crazy loss. Like, that would break my heart. And so he loses his favorite son, and it just ruins their day. And so then we have this weird thing in Genesis 38 that I got to bring up. So now we've had, all right, first off, Joseph's already had a rough life, right? Like, he's only 17, and life has sucked so far. His brothers hate him his whole life. Then he has a couple of crazy dreams from God, and when he tells people about them, they try to kill him. Life sucks for this guy, right? How many of you would feel like it would make sense, like if this were a movie, if this were a modern day Hollywood movie, here's what happens next. We see Joseph, and he's with the slave traders, and it's like gladiator, and he becomes a gladiator, and he fights his way to the top, and then he gets a chance to lead a rebellion, but that fails. But then he goes, and he gets his shot at the emperor, and he kills it. But he also dies, because that's how gladiator. But he kills the emperor, and so he's like, yeah, he kills Caesar, who's evil, and gets his revenge in the end. Woo! We all love that story because it's awesome. That's a cool movie, but it's a terrible process. The guy held on to this grudge for years, coming up through the gladiator rings and everything to do. But that's how Hollywood sees it. That's how people tend to view what happens. And before we look at what Joseph did with it, I want to look at what Judah did. Because what Judah did is crazy. 38, in chapter 38, Judah comes off, and I gotta read between the lines here a little bit. Joseph gets sold into slavery, never to be seen again by his brothers, as far as they know. The way Judah handles this after that is he leaves all his brothers, and he goes down, and he lives in Kazib. He goes to another place, and he leaves his family. He's been with the family business as a shepherd over his father's flocks his whole life, and he suddenly decides to leave. Now, maybe it's just me, but the way I see it, that's handling this whole thing poorly. He's still dealing with his bitterness and unforgiveness. He's now taken revenge way beyond what the offenses were, right? When somebody says, hey man, I had a dream that I'm going to be in charge of you one day, and you kill my face, that is not an even exchange. Or you sell me into slavery, that's not a fair trade. Hey man, don't you talk trash on me, or I will sell you into slavery for the rest of your life, or you'll be beaten and starved. Wow, that escalated quickly. Wow. But chill out, bro. Literally, it's his brother. As Pastor Bill would say, these are the only jokes I brought people. Only his are funny. So it works for him because he's funny. I'm going to move on now. So anyway, so Judah goes down and he leads his brothers. And then, again, a little bit of interpretation here. Judah meets a woman, he gets married, he has 3 boys. That's all fine, right? No bad thing to take out of that. But the way his boys live, I believe, is an indication of the way they're being raised. All because this is all a trickle-down effect of Judah leaving with all this bitterness. And the thing about taking revenge, it doesn't fix the hurt at all. It doesn't help. It doesn't make it any better. It doesn't allow for healing. Like literally, if you stabbed me with a knife and I stabbed you back, that might feel good, as far as ah! But did it make me stop hurting? No, I can still die from this. Did it fix it in any way or make it better? No, and in fact, usually, like, think about it, like if I have a big old cut and it's like pieces are falling out and whatnot, I'm like, dude, I'm dying. And I get up and start attacking you with the sword to get you back. Like, but all my stuff falls out and I die because I'm doing this, like going back after you, getting the revenge. And that's more what it's like. Taking revenge makes it far worse than it ever was. So Judah's taking revenge, and I believe, as I'm reading chapter 38, that he is not experiencing any healing at all. He's not getting over this. He's not feeling any better about life. And he's raising his family horribly because he's an angry and bitter man. So he finds a wife for his oldest son, and his son gets married. And his son was so wicked, this is the beginning and end of what we know about. Judah got a wife for his firstborn. Her name was Tamar. But Judah's firstborn, was wicked in the Lord's sight, so the Lord put him to death. End of story. That's what we get. That's the record of his firstborn son's life. He got married. He was wicked. God took him out. That's it. Pops, what is wrong with you? So, they have this crazy law in Israel where kids, well, not kids, but so your oldest son, if he dies and his wife doesn't have any children, like, she's been sold to the family, essentially, like, as far as property and taking care of stuff. Women didn't work then. And so, like, you know, she's under her father's household until she gets married. When she gets married, now she's her husband's responsibility to take care. If the husband dies and she has no kids, there's nobody to earn any money for her. So she either stays with her in-laws, which was technically sort of supposed to be what happens, or she was more or less sold back to her father, which was a disgrace, and meant she was going to live as a widow for the rest of her life. And so the other alternative was if the guy had a younger brother, the younger brother was supposed to have babies with her until they got a son, so the son could grow up and take care of her. That's a weird law, but when you have a society where she had no other way of staying alive, that was the best they had to work out. So that was the law of the land. That's what's supposed to happen. And so Judah goes to his second son. And he says, hey, your brother died. You got to give her a kid. But he's like, but that's not going to be my kid. I don't want him. So he doesn't. And God kills him. Judah's kids suck at life. Then Judah goes, all right, hang on. I got another boy. He's kind of small, but when he grows up, he didn't marry him. All right? Cool. So the kid grows up. Judah never gives the kid to Tamar. So then some other stuff happens. Judah's wife dies, and he makes some really bad decisions. If you read it, it's crazy. We'll talk about it, but it's actually somewhat inappropriate for middle school. Sure. So read the Bible. It's fun. It's like rated R. Chapter 38 is rated R. They're like, well, I'm going to read the Bible. But I'm serious, it really is. There's some other stuff I won't tell you where it is, but that's crazy. But that one's pretty gnarly. So Judah's a pretty bad dude. He's messed up. He's got some unhealthy ways of working stuff out. Then we get to 39. Chapter 39 is a lot of fun. Joseph. Now we have the brothers who, the way they've handled unforgiveness and injury against them, and I'm sure some of you guys can relate to this. I can. They get offended and they lash out way over the top. They try to kill him. And then Judah goes and he kind of ruins his whole family's life. His kids are raised wickedly because one of them's so wicked, God takes him out. The other one responds to that wickedly and God takes him out. The third one, Judah keeps away from the wife and doing the thing he's supposed to do. So Judah's being wicked still. The son's being wicked because he's not, it's just, and then Judah's wife dies and then he does some other terrible things. And it's like, bro, you are not living well. Get over this. Start working on healing and quit being a menace to society. So instead of all that craziness, and I know because I've been there, I was the worst older brother ever. I was such a terrible person to my little brother. I have a brother who's 5 years younger than me. And he's my full brother. He grew up with me in my house. And I basically saw it as my mission in life to torture him. And I was cruel to him. He will even still tell the story of when we were kids. One time, I wanted to go down the stairs, and he was sitting on top of the stairs, and he wouldn't get out of the way. And I mean, it's a staircase. It's not like a ladder where I couldn't get around it. But he's sitting at the top stair, and I don't know what he was doing, picking his nose or something, but he just didn't want to get up. And I'm sitting there, and I'm like, get out of the way. And he's like, no, move, no, move, shut up. And I put my foot on his back, and I pushed as hard as I could. Where do you go if you're at the top of a set of stairs and you get pushed forward?
Go to the bottom.
Down the stairs, head first. Goes tumbling, and then the way our stairs went, it went down. There was a small, like, square-shaped landing that was the same length as the width of the stairs, and then one more stair into the living room. So that was the end of the house. So he went and smacked into the wall. Hard. He didn't break anything. I didn't kill him. At the time, I thought, dang it, he's not hurt. No, I'm telling you, this is not a good story about me. A lot of times we'll stand up here and it's hard not to do because we don't want to encourage you guys to do dumb things. But it's hard to not share a lot of the stuff like, hey, here's a time when this happened, and here's how God brought me through it, and this is awesome. But sometimes what that does is it makes it sound like we're perfect or something. And I'm totally not. So here's a story of me being completely worthless. I was a terrible older brother. That was par for the course. That was not weird. My brother still has a jacked up shoulder from when we were playing Tony Hawk Pro Skate. And he was really good at it, and I was horrible at it. And I'm playing, and I'm the skateboarder. I'm supposed to be good at this. And I'm like, I could do that trick, just not on the video game. I'm trying, and I can't do it. I'm like, ah, wham! And I just laid into it and just rotated.
Oh.
I busted his shoulder in a way that it's still messed up. And that was like 15 years ago. I know, it's good. Don't play video games with me. I'll hurt that. So no, I actually hurt him. Another time I punched him in the knee, and his kneecap went off to the side of his leg. I was a horrible, mean, angry brother. I was so mean. We had zero relationship. And then I got saved after high school. And I still have this brother who I could see the effects, like Judah, of what all of that had done to him, where he wasn't living super great. And I started bringing him to church with me, and eventually we were able to reconcile. And it was amazing. And I'm going to talk about that a little more in a minute. But so here's a guy who's living, Joseph. We get to chapter 39. So 38 is all like, here's Judah's life being terrible for a chapter. And here's Joseph. And here's how you handle these things right. Joseph could have been bitter and working his way up to a place where he could kill his brothers. But instead, he's a slave, so he does the best thing he can. He serves God. He's righteous, and he gets put in charge of the household. He's operating in his gifts. I believe if we had a spiritual gifts test for Joseph, he would have tested super high for administration. He just had this gift of organizing and leading things well and putting things in order appropriately. And it was a gift from God because God keeps honoring what he's doing. And so he is this great administrator, and this guy Potiphar, he gets sold to him as a slave. He gets put in charge of that guy's household. He's the head servant. Now he's not like a slave. He's like almost practically a son. He's got free reign of everything. He's in charge of everybody else, and he's doing great. And then Potiphar's wife is like, check out the young stud pool boy. What? And she's nasty. And so she comes over and tries to sleep with him. And he's like, ah, no, and he runs. The Bible says flee from sin. Follow Joseph's example. Literally, he fled from sin so fast, his clothing fell off when she pulled, and he ran away naked.
No.
Then she lied because she was like, I'm not going to be embarrassed by this little stud. And so she goes, rape! And she holds up his clothes and goes, look, he's naked, he tried to rape me. And then he ran away when I started calling for help. She gets him thrown in prison. Now, not only is he a slave, now he's a slave who tried to rape his master's wife. That's like, I mean, he's not only in prison, he's getting beaten in prison. There's no way that it worked out good for him. But again, he handles it so well. In chapter 40, we get through a little farther. Chapter 40, he handles that so well that he gets put in charge of the prison. because he's just faithful to God and saying, hey, I can help you work this out. And so he helps the warden out, and he ends up being in charge of the prisoners, and he's kind of helping arrange everything. He's in charge of the prison while he's still a prisoner. And he's running things. And then, even then, remember what happened? This all started because why? Because he had a couple dreams. So of all the things that you feel like, hey, man, stuff I want to do in my life, interpret more dreams, not at the top of the list, right? Last time that worked out really poorly for me. 2 guys he's in a cell with have crazy dreams. They're like, dude, what do our dreams mean? He's like, well, let me tell you. You're going to die, you're going to live. So, what? That ain't going to happen. And then Pharaoh comes down and he calls him up, and one guy gets his head cut off, and the other guy gets restored to his position. And the cupbearer, the guy who had to taste Pharaoh's wine for poison. That's not a good job. I mean, you're right next to the Pharaoh, but like if somebody tries to kill him, you're dead. So he gets restored, and Joseph's like, hey, remember me when you get out, guys. And they get out, and he tells the one guy he's going to live. He doesn't bother the other dude. He's like, I'll remember you. He's like, you're going to be dead. Sorry. So, but the other guy forgets, and then Pharaoh has crazy dreams. So they call him up, and he interprets Pharaoh's dreams. And he's still willing to live righteously, to be patient, and to operate in the giftings that God has given him. And when Pharaoh asks him, he doesn't go, all right, look, here's the thing. I've been waiting for 20 years. Because you remember chapter 38, before any of this happened, Judah moved to another country, raised up 3 sons that were all old enough for marriage, which is like 17, 18-ish, probably, between 16 and 18 for marriage. So old enough for marriage before the rest of this story keeps going. So Joseph's been in slavery for more than 20 years, though. So this is a long time. So for 20 years, Pharaoh, I've been waiting. And the guys who got me thrown in prison, I want revenge. So here's the deal. I will interpret your dream if you will let me out so I can kill all my brothers. Right? That would be the Hollywood movie. That would be how it works. Oh, I got this chance with the Pharaoh. I'm going to interpret the dream. All I want is one favor. You can execute me. You can throw me back in jail. I want all 10 of my brothers dead. 2. He doesn't say that. He doesn't even worry about that. He just goes, yeah, I can't even interpret dreams, but God can. I'll do it if you ask. I'll ask him what it means. Pharaoh tells him, he interprets it, and then not only that, but he gets a plan for how to fix it. And so, 41, Joseph gets placed in charge of Egypt. The whole country. Joseph's the number 2 dude. He becomes the vice president. He becomes the executive leader of all of Egypt. And then here is how we are supposed to handle forgiveness and what this all means. Joseph's brothers go to Egypt because there's a famine, which Joseph predicted when he interpreted Pharaoh's dreams. He said there's going to be 7 years of plenty. You've got to store it all up because there's going to be 7 years of famine that will kill everybody if we don't save some food. And so he does it. He organizes the whole thing. And when the famine hits, he starts selling it back. So Joseph's brothers are not even close to Egypt, but they got a famine too, so they come down to buy food. And they come down, and Joseph recognizes them. And Joseph is the number 2 dude in Egypt. This is a place where slave trade is a regular thing. He could have been like, thieves, put them all in prison and kill them. Boom, done. Revenge happened, and he's still in charge. Sweet. Life is sweet, man. Got my revenge, got my everything. No, he doesn't do that. It says, verse 6, now Joseph was governor of the land, the one who sold grain to all its people. So when Joseph's brothers arrived, they bowed down to him with their faces to the ground. As soon as Joseph saw his brothers, he recognized them, but he pretended to be a stranger and spoke harshly to them. He's not killing them, though. What did we say forgiveness was? Forgiveness is letting go of the right to take revenge. He hasn't taken revenge. He's being kind of harsh, though. He's testing them. He wants to see if they're worthy of restoring relationship, but he's not going to kill them. And so he's harsh to them. He asks them a bunch of questions, asks about his little brother and everything else. And then he says, you're spies. It's Genesis chapter 42. He says, you're all spies. I'm going to have you all arrested. They're like, no, 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 we're not spies. We swear, we swear, we swear. And he's like, all right, well, I don't know if I believe you. And then he sells them all their grain and they leave, and he makes everybody silk their money back into their sacks. So they go and they check the bags, and they're like, he tricks them. You know, he snuck that in so he could arrest them. He brings them all in. He's like, I'm going to kill every one of you. And they're like, no, 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 please don't. And he's like, all right, look, I'm just going to keep one. And if you go and prove to me that you're not spies, I'll let you guys go. So you bring back your baby brother. And so they're like, oh, how will that ever happen? And so they leave, and they're like, that's never going to work. And this is them starting the process, starting to grow, starting to be different. They don't abandon them to death. They go, and they get the baby brother and take him down. Because they need food again. They came back to this guy down. So they go back. And Joseph basically does the same thing over it. He doesn't tell them. And he makes sure that just the baby brother is the one who is caught. And he goes, all right, I'm going to put him to death. And they're like, no, no, no. And they all say, take us instead of him. Let him go back alone and take all 10 of us. Yeah. And when he sees that they've changed, then he initiates restoring relationship. Here's what this looks like. Jake, here. So if I have a potato, right? We talked about like potatoes are our offenses, right? And so I have this is my life. Here's my potatoes, and I'm hanging out with Jake, and Jake hurts me. Jake really hurts me. He put a knife in me. And so now I got this potato. I have this potato, and I hang on to it. It's injured and everything else, and maybe I take revenge. And I'm like, oh, hang on to it. Right? That's what we've been talking about, unforgiveness. But then you hang on to them, you get nasty, you start growing other potatoes, and it's gross. So I let this go. That's forgiveness. The Bible says, forgive or you will not be forgiven by your Father in heaven. You must forgive and let go. No matter what the offense was. You must let go of your right to take revenge. That does not mean, hey, we're best buddies, because look, he's got a freaking knife. And what did he do the last time I got close? He stabbed my freaking potato, man. Don't stab the potato. I forgive him. I let go of the potato. I'm going to stay over here until I'm sure that that knife is not going to stab my potatoes. You put the knife away. We can hang out. Put the knife away. All right. No.
No.
Here we go. When Joseph sees that his brothers are willing to not follow the same pattern and leave their baby brother to die, but they're willing to put their necks on the line to save him, then he reveals himself to his brothers. And they still don't understand this forgiveness. They don't understand forgiveness and reconciliation. So as soon as they realize who he is, they're like, we're all going to die. And they all feared for their lives. Because they're like, that's what we would do in that situation. But he says, don't worry about this. God had plans. I trust that God had good things planned for all of this, and it wasn't you, it was God. It's okay. I'm all right with all of this. But we don't have to enter back into a relationship if people aren't ready. And so some people have had horrible things happen. Maybe somebody's done something that you can't even speak of. Maybe things have happened in your life. Somebody's had something crazy happen. There was a story that we heard of at another church, a famous pastor leads, and he had a thing where this lady, her son was murdered by this guy. And through a long time of counseling and reconciliation and everything else, she not only was able to restore a relationship, and the guy was repentant, he was sorry, he apologized, he everything, and he got saved, and he found Jesus, and he's trying to make his life right. And she was willing to reach out and go, son, I know that you took my son away, but I know that you're hurting too. And she was able to start ministering to him, and now he's like her son. They've restored a relationship. Not everybody gets to do that because not everyone's willing to put the knife down. The offender is always willing to put the knife down. That doesn't free us up from having to put it. But it just means letting go of that and not carrying this around. It's not hurting them. You carry around forgiveness, it just weighs you down. It just hurts you. It doesn't even hurt. Unforgiveness is like drinking poison and expecting it to kill the other person. It's just stupid. God, Lord, I know that there are things that have happened in our lives. Some things aren't that big. Some of the stuff that's happened to us is minor. Somebody beat us in a video game, or somebody wore the same shirt as us and took away our style points for the day. And some things are crazy. Maybe somebody ruined our reputation. Maybe somebody has bullied us. Maybe somebody has hurt us in ways that nobody should ever do. And worst of all of that is not only are we injured, but we're injured by those who are all people in the world, our families are supposed to be. So when they hurt us, it's harder than anybody else to forgive that and not walk around with that hurt, like an open aching and bothering everything else in our lives. So help all of us to let go of those hurts so we can focus on the healing inside of us. Be in a place where if they're willing to put their knives down, you can consider restoring the relationship. But then you would also give us wisdom in knowing the difference between forgiveness and trying to restore a relationship with somebody who's just going to continue to do this. You have better things to do. But all of these things, the forgiving of hard things and the reconciliation of impossible relationships, as well as the discernment and wisdom to know when not to. All these things come from focusing on you. So pray over everything, no matter what it is we're going through in experience. And each person will be able to seek your face, to be living to the needs to seek your face. That they would follow you, whatever that means. If that means forgiving, they would forgive. If that means reconciliation, they would reconcile. If that means holding a boundary and keeping that person out so that they cannot continue to injure them, that they would be strong enough to do that as well. So, I can't let them close because you will bring healing to their hearts. Bring people around them so they can hear and counsel broken heart and their spirit. I guess if you have ever been on a trip with us or you've ridden the yellow school bus, please go sign the shirt if you haven't yet done so. Dennis is a really great guy and he drives on all our trips. We just wanted to thank him for the autographs. And come to the Legacy Garage tomorrow, check it out. It's good times. And if you need to talk to somebody about forgiveness that you need to work on, please hit one of us up. Last announcement, if you're on the worship team, come tear down the stage, please.
Dennis, my bus driver. Hello,
If it had a funny little back in the head,
Hi, Landon, by Zach. And Dennis, Jack's Canadian, he gets 1 point. Jack's Canadian, he gets 1 point. Thank you, ladies. You can. Okay, guys, we need 2 round tables set up. Kevin, can you help us with 2 round tables? Go back here. Move a couple of these out. What are you doing? Tony, I'll be like that. Okay. Walk from the other side. Where? It's right here. It's right here. One goes there, one goes right here. Yeah. We'll go over like past dangerous there.
It's supposed to be this long.
Good job.
It's supposed to be this long.
Looks like, right? Yeah. Pull that away. And put your foot on the leg. Good. There you go. Put your foot down. Oh, look at that. There you go. Oh my goodness! You know we church is. It's awesome. Yeah, I told you you would enjoy your big way.
Oh my God.
Josh, you're going with Gary. Come on. With these guys.
That's your day. It's not necessary.
Yes, it was.
It's already You still have to go have it.
Yes. Their meeting.
What's that? What's their meeting?
Usher lunch or something.
Well, where's our food?
No, we're funny. Doing much. Get back here, that baby. Right, Junior. Right, Junior. See you, Junior Carter.
Well, I can see
By the end of the day, I'm like, or like.
Oh, yeah. No, Shania called me. Captain, no, she called me Captain America.
Yo,
Do you guys have any questions?
We're just enjoying the chair.
Oh,
And the more.
they are good. They're good chairs. We are good. Some are overloaded. Which is bad too, because then when they start talking, you're like, oh. I'm out here, Brian. Gail, you good?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. 2 and 5 each.
Yeah. Actually, I'm gonna need 8 each.
Oh,
That's okay, we got it.
all right. Well,
I know. I thought it was okay.
it's good. Oh yeah. That's cool. I have a new one, but I thought it was it's got it. Hey, Brian. It'll be up this week. You just came in this
There's
week.
a whole bunch of ladies that need to
So,
come in here,
let's-
servers and.
Follow me.
I need to go home.
Sabrina, thank you. Michaela, Sabrina, good job today.
Yeah, we can't do games. We tried.
You did fine. What do you mean you can't do games?
It didn't go smoothly